Hi, how you going? This box arrived at my office, so got home and I'm going to do an unboxing for you. So let's get straight into it. G'day, welcome back to BlkBrd's. If you're new here, my name is Tech. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that I'm filming on, the Wajik people of the Noongar Nation. So this box arrived at my office today from India. It's my first look at a pair of BlkBrd boots, BlkBrd. Now, in a previous video, I did catch them because on their website because I heard mention of them in my Instagram account. And then subsequently, I saw reviews by other boot creators on YouTube, Dale from Dale's Leatherworks, and also a couple of other guys, I think WI Shoe Guy and Welted Wear. So I was interested when I was able to get a pair of these boots. So let's take a look and get straight into it. They come in a fairly regular cardboard box. I'm guessing that's the shipping box. And there are staples all over, so I'm going to open it from the side, I think. And then try and pull out, here we go, pull out the box from the shipping box. One of my viewers, when I had an open pocket knife, an American boot nerd, who was also a knife nerd, only had one comment: close that knife. So I will do. You know what? I'm not going to. We're Australians. We can do two things at once here. We can have a knife open and not cut ourselves on it. All right, so it's a nice presentation box, BlkBrd shoe box. BlkBrd shoemaker, hand-welted shoes, handcrafted in India. And if you don't know, BlkBrd shoes are made in India, which has a long tradition from even before its British colonial past of making high-end shoes and boots. During the Mughal Empire, they were making shoes and boots for the Persian Empire across in Iran. So long-held tradition. And then when the Brits came, they started making welted shoes as well for them. Getting it open. So to start with, you have this tissue paper protecting the boots inside, I guess. Oh, hello. We have foam-backed leather insoles, removable insoles. We have a shoe horn, and this looks like it might be made from either cow or buffalo horn. I'm pretty sure this isn't plastic. It looks like it's carved. Spare leather laces, and then there's a protective cardboard between each boot, and each boot has a BlkBrd shoemaker boot bag made of cotton twill, I think. I'll get both boots out this time before I totally unwrap them and show you what they're like. And obviously my reaction to how I see this is as realistic as you're going to get. Because this would be the first time I've looked at them. All right. Oh, that's very nice. So this is the Luchador, Luchador model. Sells on their website for US dollars about $285. This is in their Cognac Scotch grain, which I think their hatch grain is from Horween, so I don't know if their Scotch grain is from Horween. The Luchador, which funnily enough is Mexican for one of their masked wrestlers, you know, the ones with the painted masks. Not sure why they call them the Luchador, but it's their cap toe service boot pattern with the brogue cap toe. Nice thick cotton laces, round cotton laces, but you also have this leather ones that you can use. I have to say, my initial lifting of the boot out of the box is that it's quite a light boot. Nicely protected. Yeah, it's quite a light boot, despite the fact that it's welted. Actually, this is a stitch down boot. Can you see the stitch down? That's where the uppers are lasted and then flared out, and then the flare is sewn on, stitched on to, from what I can see, it's the midsole. I don't believe this has a welt. And the stitching goes past that stitch down and onto the midsole area, which goes right around the outside of the boot. Yes, I was saying my first impression is it's quite a light feeling boot. And I think that's probably because you're missing the welt, and with the welt maybe you're missing that cork layer. Although it feels pretty well sorted down there. The leather, look, I'm not sure if this is from Horween. It feels a little waxy to me. Yeah, it's a kind of waxy Scotch grain leather, which I chose because I thought I wanted to replicate the Scotch grain leather I have in my Joseph Cheney's and in a pair of Coniston boots that I had previously, English Northampton bootmakers. And you see that the Indian tradition is to make their boots sort of European English, because there is quite an English style last with an almond-shaped toe and quite sharply pointed almond-shaped toe. I'll tell you about sizing when I start to put them on. But if you take a close look, stitching, from what I can see, is quite nice. It's very even. Stitching on the toe cap looks very even to me. I'm not one of these people who get a new boot and look at it and go, you know, take out the microscope and go, what's wrong with it? Because if they're handmade boots, and I think these are handmade in the sense that there is a person guiding them through a machine rather than actually hand stitching everything. So they're handmade in the sense that they don't go through an industrial robot shoe manufacturing factory. Yeah, what I was saying was, if they're handmade, I expect there to be not precise stitching. There's got to be a few mistakes. Somebody gets tired, they're not particularly even. Having said that, the stitching on the uppers look very even overall, but you can see that maybe the stitching on the stitch down is a little wayward. But that's, as I say, if it's handmade, I expect people to be not robots. I'm not quite sure what the stiffeners are, but they feel like leather to me. There's more of a give than the thermoplastic you can get. Yeah, the leather is firm. It's lined. It's lined on the shaft and also in the vamp. So it's a fully lined boot, which again surprises me for the weightlessness. Look, the leather is quite a waxy, dressy leather, despite the Scotch grain. That's these little pebbles that you see. It's not an oily, waxy leather. It's a waxy, waxed over leather. And I hold my breath a little bit because sometimes they can be difficult to manage, shall we say. You have to condition them well in order to make them a little more supple. They're kind of like dress shoes. However, the overall look of it is really good. It's got I don't know if this is from Day-Night, but branded BlkBrd, but it's like a Day-Night sole. It's actually more similar to a Day-Night sole than, say, a Grant Stone or a Thursday, who use their proprietary studded soles. And the reason I say that is because of the crispness of the studs and the fact that they actually sit a little above the flat of the sole itself. So these might very well be Day-Night soles, but branded with the BlkBrd label. Also, I've noticed something very interesting. Can you see that notch cut there? Right? It's on the inside of the heel, not the outside. And that's because when you're walking, it prevents catching on the inside of the step. Now, I know you have to be pretty clumsy to probably do that, but you know, that's what they say. They cut a notch on the inside. But it's one of the first times I've seen that recently. All right, other boot. So, I mean, I have to say overall, the design is fairly traditional, obviously. It's a service boot. It's a Brogue cap toe service boot. What else are you going to do with the design, you know? It's an old design. It's after a service boot pattern, probably about 5 and a bit inches high above the heel, which is called a 6-inch boot. But it's how you make it, I think, that counts these days, as opposed to the style. Because what do? If you want to do a Brogue cap toe, do you say, oh no, I can't do one anymore because Viberg does the best one, so let's not bother. And what you can then do is maybe use different uppers and change the patterning of the quarters, that sort of thing. You know, people say, oh gosh, you know, they copied Alden's mock toes, or they copied the 875, or they copied the Iron Ranger. I think with those boots you can have an argument that they've been copied if they're exactly the same. But with a service boot's a service boot. And I'm looking at this other boot, the left-hand one. And again, I'm looking at really nice stitching. I'm looking at really careful finishing. It's a cut edge, it's not rolled. So it may not look as nice, but I think it's longer lasting. And the leather is firm. It has a firm, hard waxed hand to it. So I think I'm going to need to give it a nice condition and then wear it to break that in. Otherwise, I have no faults to report. The hardware is backed, so there's no scratchy bits, you know, where where it's pressed hard. Nice. Another service boot for my collection. Let's see if they fit me. Okay, let's get the right foot in. That fitted very well, very comfortably. I don't usually do leather lacing on my boots, so I'll change this once I've done the try-on. Just as I was setting up for this try-on, I went to their website to have a look at what the leather was. And it's from Portugal, a tannery called Boaventura. And this is their cognac color Scotch grain. Yeah, look, the fit is pretty good. They advise going true to size, and being Indian, they rely a lot on UK sizing. So my size is UK 7.5. I double check by giving them measurements, and that equates to a European 41, and the box says they supplied me with a European 41. So it's true to size. Do not go down a half size. In fact, even being true to size, they're actually quite roomy. It's not a particularly snug fit, not uncomfortable, not uncomfortably loose, but it's not snug, and there's plenty of room in the toe. But I think you'd expect that because the toe is quite a pointy almond toe because of its European lasting. The fit is quite nice, although that leather is definitely firm and will need breaking in. As for the soles, being stitched down construction, I think it's a little bit more flexible where the boot flexes, but it's the leather itself and the lining which is really thick. And looking at it, it's, my guesstimate is it's nearly 4 millimeters thick by the time you add the two together. Now, you should just note that I was given these for review. So I'm going to do this try on and then wait a few months while I wear them, and then I'll review them. But I did have to pay my own postage and packing and stamps and duties when it arrived in Australia. Look-wise, I think it's very elegant. It's what you'd expect from a European-styled boot, even though it's a US service boot, supposedly. The stiffness is something that has to be broken in, and in time I think you get the suppleness around that vamp area where you're bending, because you can see now that when you bend, it's creating those creases there, and potentially that can cut into your foot, but a little bit of conditioning and then wearing it will be fine. I forgot to mention that the heels are real leather stacks. What is it? 1, 2, 3 stacks of leather, maybe 4, and then the rubber top lift. Very nice single piece backstay, which cups the heel quite nicely. I mean, because I think it is marginally big for me, I am getting a little bit of heel slip. But that should go away once this issue where I lift a foot and the boot doesn't bend like my foot wishes to bend, and so pulls back on the heel a little bit. Once that goes, I think I'll be fine. My suggestion, if you're thinking of getting one of these from BlkBrd, is to measure up and just double check with them, and maybe tell them the sort of fit that you like. Yep. This will be a nice addition, I think, to my slightly dressier boots. I mean, I feel I'm wearing black chinos at the moment, and I'm feeling like I could quite easily wear these with, say, a dark grey or a mid-grey suit, a charcoal suit or a mid-grey suit. They'd go very nicely, I think, being this cognac-y tan leather. All right, let's wrap up. So there you go, my first look at a BlkBrd boot. I'm impressed with the quality of construction. I'm impressed with the way the stitches are clean and concise. I'm perhaps not as impressed with this leather, but for the same price, you can get leathers from Horween. For a bit more, you can get leathers in horsebutt, and then for a bit more than that, I think 600 US or so, you can get shell cordovan. I chose a lesser leather because I didn't want them to be out of pocket. This is a free boot for me to review, and I could have chosen any one. So I said to them, look, I'd love a pair of shell cordovan, but I'm not going to put you out of pocket. Give me this cognac hatch grain from Portugal. I think I do remember that it was from Portugal when I looked at the website, and I've been impressed with Andrew Savisco Parkhurst's Portuguese boots. So I thought, well, let's give the Portuguese tannery a bit of a go. I'm also impressed with the crispness of the studded outsole, quite different from other proprietary day-night type outsoles. I think this is as close to day-night if it isn't, and just simply rebadged. Initial impressions is that it is a stiff boot. I am definitely, because of that uppers leather, going to need to break this in, and I think it will hurt me across there and on the heel a little bit when I'm breaking it in. But I will condition it, probably with Venetian shoe cream, a couple of times, let it soak in. I'm not going to use mink oil, that's going to darken it, even though mink oil is probably the best for softening leather. And then we'll see how it goes from there. The fit, as I say, is slightly roomy. I'm not complaining. It's true to size. And in my experience from other English and Indian bootmakers, is true to size usually means true to size. Whereas this, I think it's slightly marginally a bit more roomy. But I don't mind that. I do quite like where you can twiddle your toes in your boots, you know. Dressiness, I think it's a dressy boot because of the last shape, because of the waxy leather, the Scotch grain, and I'm more than happy to wear this with either pair of jeans or a suit and go to work in my office. Right then, You know the drill. If you like this video, click on like, and if you haven't subscribed, do me a favor and subscribe. It's not going to do you any harm, and you're just going to get served with more and more boot review videos, which hopefully you like. So, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Take care.